If you're within 5 years of retirement or thinking about that next stage of your life, there are people that I believe you need to get on your team to help you with that transition. And in this video, I want to talk about the people that I believe you should have on your team and the right points in time to make sure you're consulting with them so your retirement can be as successful as possible. Welcome to What Happens Next. For many people in their 50s and 60s, working out what their retirement looks like or what happens next feels like an individual sport. But in a change so fundamental, I believe that actually retirement should be a team game. And in this video, I want to talk about the people that I believe you should get involved in the conversation about your retirement and when the right time is to start that conversation. But the reality is, if we're making decisions that are going to potentially impact our lives fundamentally, and not only immediately, but for the next 20 and 30 years, actually getting the right team around you to support you with that change is certainly, I believe, the right thing to do. If it's your first time at What Happens Next, welcome to the channel. We're the channel dedicated to helping people think about change and transition in their lives in their 50s and 60s. And we do that in a number of ways. I share my insights into working with the clients for 20 years, helping them retire or work out what happens next successfully. But we also interview expert guests in the subjects like nutrition and sleep and managing change and whether work in whatever form plays a continued part of our lives when we're in our 50s and 60s and beyond. And I really learn a lot to help my clients with their journeys. But the idea is that we help you, if you're thinking about retirement within the next 5 years, to think about your journey too. So who am I? I'm a chartered financial planner. My name's Chris, and I've run a business called Savello for coming up to a decade and a half now. But I've been advising people about their retirement, about their money and the role it plays in their retirement for over 2 decades. I know I do look old enough, and I've had a hard life. But before I share the people I believe are really important for you to engage with, if you're thinking within the next 5 years about retirement and what happens next, I'm curious. Are you retired already? Have you gone through the process? And who was useful for you to talk to during that transition? Number one. And number two, if you're currently going through the process and thinking about retirement, who have you spoke to and how has it been useful? And also, if it hasn't been useful, I'd love for you to share your experiences. The opportunity we've got as a community on this channel is to learn from each other. And I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, I'd love for you, if this video is valuable at the end, to like this video and subscribe to the channel. My aim and my aspiration with this channel is to have more nuanced conversations about what it takes to retire successfully or work out what happens next in our lives. And actually, you liking this video and subscribing to the channel allows us to reach more people and have better conversations about the challenges we're all going to face in that period of our lives. So, without further ado, let's talk about the people we should speak to when we're thinking about the next stage of our lives in our 50s and 60s. And I'd suggest the first person we need to speak to is our partner. Because I've had experiences of clients come to see me, and the dynamic between their husband and wife might mean that they feel that they're doing this alone. And I get it. Some couples manage their money individually and want to continue to do so, not only whilst they're working, but into retirement. But my experience is that actually building a family financial plan, not only for now, but also for the future, allows you to have a more robust idea of what you're actually going to need. But it's not only the financial plan that's going to be important to do with your partner or the person you love the most. It's about how you're going to spend that time. Because we've had experiences with clients who have said they're retiring, made the decision to retire, not had enough conversations with their partner, and find themselves then under each other's feet and transitioning back to work again. So I suppose the big thing here is, what conversations are you having with the person you love about your intended plans today? What does that look like for you? And how, in that changing dynamic, do you make sure that you're still a successful couple if the way you're spending time is changing? Because my experience is even the closest couples benefit from time together and time apart. And when we're thinking about retirement and how we want to do that, making sure that we've got those two elements is probably worth considering too. Not if you spend loads of time together, there's something wrong with you, because I love that. It's just that considering how you're going to spend your time before you make that transition, and having conversations with your partner about both your joint financial plan, but also how you're going to spend your time, is going to be really, really important. And ultimately, the decision to retire will be yours, but having the input from the person closest to you in the world is probably a good first step. The second person I'd get involved is your financial planner. Now, as a chartered financial planner, I would say this. I'm probably a bit biased, to be honest. But I think, and I know from working with the clients, that having a good financial planner on your side, on your team, to make some of those important decisions makes your life easier. Now, clearly, having a good financial planner on your side includes what they can bring in terms of technical knowledge, pension rules and state pension and how it all fits together. But the other reality is, for a lot of my clients, and I know a lot of good financial planners out there, we're our client's sounding board for some of those decisions. And there's one element, if you're looking for a financial planner, I'd recommend that you make sure that they've got. And it's access to a tool called cash flow. Effectively, if you run a business, it's very similar to cash flow planning for your business, but this is cash flow planning for your life. And effectively, cash flow paints a picture of how much money you've got, how long it's going to last, and helps you and empowers you with the knowledge and clarity for some of those really important financial decisions you're going to have to make. Also, pick somebody you're really going to get on with. Having a really good financial planner is a relationship, so making sure that you've got a connection with your financial planner so that they can not only look after you now, but also for the longer term. Technical expertise is another thing that's worth considering, and chartered or certified is the level of technical expertise you're looking for. It's also important to bear in mind that you might not need a financial planner. If you're a whiz with a spreadsheet and you've got the time, effort, and energy to do the research into all of the aspects and areas that you need to understand to make sure that you're in a position where you're in the right place, then actually not having a financial planner might save you a little bit of money. However, my experience is, for many of my clients, they don't know what they don't know. The third person I'd recommend you speak to is a retirement coach. Now, what does a retirement coach do? Unlike a financial planner, they'll have conversations with you about the broader issues surrounding taking a step from what you're doing now to what you intend to do in the future. Because what we know at what happens next, and through the work that I've done with my clients for a couple of decades, we know that it's not all about the money. It's about purpose. It's about identity. It's about making sure that we maintain social and physical well-being. It's about so many other factors that aren't about just, have I got enough? And what a good retirement coach will do is really listen and take the time to understand what you truly want in the next 10, 20, 30 years, this era of your life. Because this transition is going to be a big one for most people. and really taking the time to understand what you really want from it, with the help of a coach potentially, might be a really useful move to make. Number 4, and this is only pertinent if you're aiming to sell a business as part of your financial plan and your life plan, is somebody who's a real expert in buying and selling businesses. Because my experience is I see clients who own businesses and where the value of their business is part of their financial plan. And it's an important consideration for many of us who run businesses. The asset we've built, it has value, so it's important to factor in. But I've had conversations with clients in the past where they've said to me, actually, Chris, I think my business is worth X, and I'm reticent to put in the financial plan because I can't see how. Now, I'm not saying the value of a business shouldn't be in the financial plan. What I'm saying is we need to be really realistic about what the value might be. And that's why, as somebody who's an expert in buying and selling businesses, particularly in your particular sector, if you run a business, might be worth engaging if you're thinking. And I'd suggest 3 to 5 years prior to retirement or whatever happens next, to understand how much that business is worth realistically, what the value might be, and how that's going to fit into your financial plan. And this moves me on to my next couple of recommendations. I'd suggest that particularly if you run a business, having a really good solicitor and a really good accountant on your team is useful to do. Now, the likelihood is if you're running a business, you know commercial lawyers, you know accountants, you know people who can help you. And my recommendation is to start engaging with your lawyer and accountant and starting to have conversations about the legal and the company tax implications of your next stage. And my last recommendation is somebody who has done what you intend to do. A lot of people have followed this path. A lot of people have retired, some successfully, some non-successfully, but interestingly, there's lessons to be learned from both. So who do you know who's retired and done it well? And what can you learn from them about the path they've followed? It's really interesting. The insights we've got from many of our What Happens Next guests have been from some of the mistakes they've made. Others have provided insight in terms of the elements they believe they've done really well. But there's aspects we can learn from the people who we know to make sure that our next step, our What Happens Next, our retirement is going to be the most successful we can make it. So I'm curious, who else have I missed that should be on your team when you're thinking about retirement? Please put that in the comments. And I'd really like to start a conversation about what a successful retirement looks like and how we get closer to achieving that goal. Also, I'd love to ask you what your biggest fear is when thinking about retirement, because what we can then do is invite expert guests on to talk about some of those subjects to support you, but also hopefully share some insights to help you through that journey. Now, one of the most underestimated factors when we're thinking about retirement or what happens next in our lives is how that change can impact our social well-being, our friendships and our communities. And in these 2 videos, I share insights about those subjects. That's it for today. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you on What Happens Next soon.